Welcome to Mirahiku Southland in New Zealand's deep south, a province defined by its wilderness, beauty and abundance. This week, for a 69th year, the region plays host to the best road cycling talent from around New Zealand and the globe in the country's longest running and most prestigious road race. 96 riders from 16 teams will do battle across more than 860 kilometres of southern highway. Spanning fertile farmland, majestic fiordland, a punishing climb up Queenstown's Remarkables, the iconic Bluff Hill, all leading to a winner being crowned in Invercargill at the end of a week of drama. This is the 2025 SBS Bank Tour of Southland. Day 3 of the tour took the peloton out west as the field rolled out of the seaside resort of Riverton bound for Te Anau. A tailwind had the pace on from the start. An early break was closed down after a nasty crash, but a 17-strong group got out to a 3-minute lead as the leaders approached the Blackmount Hill climb. Australian William Heffernan took the points on the climb, but it was on the descent that the key move came. A group of 4 forming and putting 2 minutes on the main bunch as they made the turn at Manapori, 20 kilometres from home. And then it was a straight drag race to the finish, and they held the chasers at bay, PowerNet's Kyan Watts taking out the stage and in the process becoming the third tour leader in as many days. As we set ourselves for what could be a defining day, 29 riders within a minute and a half of the tour lead ahead of the climb up the Remarkables in Queenstown.
It's a good day out yesterday. Happy to take advantage of sort of sneaking up the road a bit there. And a bit of a balancing act between keeping today in mind and then but gaining as much time as possible.
I feel the racing's been a little bit more chaotic this year. I think riders are a bit more dispersed amongst teams. There's no one incredibly strong team, and it's just made for slightly more chaotic racing. You can see that yesterday it took 80k for the break to go. Who knows what's going to happen today.
We're sitting on 50k an hour for the first hour of the stages. Yesterday it took like 85k for the move to go, and it was just jumping around all over. I mean, this is a tour that's like the best domestic talent in New Zealand and Australasia. Like, they're not slouches here. There's good blokes pretty well down the order. So it makes for like good, challenging, attacking racing.
Yeah, it really hasn't been too much control, apart from my boys on the front. So it's been a tough few days, especially yesterday. It was a good day for us, winning the stage and Kian taking orange, but also losing Ollie is, really sad for our team because he's a big part on the bike and off the bike. So for sure that's been a bit disappointing, but we've got to remarks today with everything to play for.
We've sort of been through the list and looked at who to keep an eye on. So I did it last year. It's nice not to have to go all the way to the top this year. A little bit shorter finish, so looking forward to it. I think obviously Josh, after winning a couple of times, he's the one to watch and he's the closest behind me on GC. And then Ben Dybel's had a great career and he's going to be super strong out there today. And then a couple of other guys it's still super close at the top,
Sure to be a pretty rapid start. Everyone's always keen to, get things moving and get up the road. It's actually really nice to see. There's a lot of enthusiasm, and so it makes for obviously some hard racing when guys are jumping around and that sort of thing. But I would expect it to be pretty rapid, like the last few days have been. Obviously, with a 6k ride up a mountain, you're going to see some general classification separation. You wouldn't expect too big a group to come together. It'll probably be 1s and 2s. You'll get a realistic idea of who's climbing well today, and there'll be a few boys in the race who it's really their opportunity to take the only serious amount of time, because Bluff is hard as a climb, but it's obviously a lot shorter.
Keep it all together till the base of the climb, and then just give them hell and see how it comes out at the end.
Queen stage of this year's SBS Bank Tour of Southland is about to get underway here in Mosburn in quite murky sort of conditions. There's an expectation today that the sun is going to come out, but they've had plenty of that throughout the week as we look to the map as they make their way towards Remarkables.
An anxious stage for a lot of riders. You can see once you hit the lake, of course, it starts getting a lot more lumpy and bumpy, as we call it, and then you get to the Remarkables turn off and hit that last climb, which is really going to be the critical point for the overall GC riders today. But a long stage, a long, tough day out. If the weather picks up and the wind picks up, it's going to be interesting to see who goes early here, as we always see. But a long breakaway is often the nature of the course for this, isn't it?
It absolutely is, as we see the PowerNet man in the orange jersey, Kian Watts. It'll be interesting to see him in action here today, of course, taking out the stage, getting the orange jersey. But as he said, my primary job here is to look after their team captain, Josh Burnett. So the PowerNet team know they've got a lot of expectation here coming into the Remarkables. Of course, Burnett is a two-time winner up that hill.
Yes, Josh Burnett's got a lot of pressure on him today to perform. Obviously hasn't got his usual squad looking after him, and the PowerNet guys are going to have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders today. I'm sure they can cope with it. Kian Watts being in the tour leaders jersey is probably a wee bit unusual at this point in time, but they'll roll with it. They adapt. The tactics change as they go, kilometre by kilometre often, and once again the start here rather subdued. The guys all know what's looming further up the road.
New Zealand rep George Jackson making a move down on the inside of the road here, and it looks like joining him is Craig Oliver from the Central Benchmakers wheel bike team. We'll see a lot of this hitting out early in the stage. This is typically how they go as they make their way towards Five Rivers.
The split decisions you have when someone goes in front of you in a bike race like the SBS Bank Tour is instant, and you can see there Craig Oliver was straight onto George Jackson's wheel. Often if you miss that initial sort of half-second gap, it's over for the day and you can rue your chances for the whole time for the rest of the stage. But everyone is still flat stick here, trying to get away and absolutely hanging on to wheels for grim death.
The first of the preems of the day, and there's a big challenge going on here with Kirkazoo just holding on to it for the Airview Farm Sprint, taking an few extra points for himself. And there's a great battle going on there, of course. The reason we see the Creation Science Mitre Q team in there, they're trying to steal points back off Kirkazoo because they've got their man Gardner leading in the green jersey.
Yeah, James Gardner probably missed a lot of points yesterday by not making the cut and getting dropped early on in that stage. He will have slid right back down in terms of his numbers of points that he's collected. They're so keen, this Mitre Q Creation Science Cycling Project team. They really take this race by the horns, and we're coming into the first of our climbs here. This will provide a wee bit of a springboard. That looks like the king of the under 23 Heffernan there at the back, just stretching his legs, waiting for the start of this climb. Very relaxed today. He'll be hoping for big things later on.
Yes, this is a man who, of course, took out some good points yesterday. The first man over the top of Blackmount. So he's got some good legs on him. He was away in the break all day long, but just having a bit of a stretch at the back, as you said, Doug. Now going to make a move down on the inside as the rest of the riders line themselves up the front there for the kinetic media climb of the day. The first one for the points for the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains. In the under 23, he's making some big inroads here as he comes up towards the outside. Well, meanwhile, we see, looks like Craig Oliver again looking for some points here. This man's obviously feeling like today could be his particular day, and he looks pretty comfortable at this point in time to take out the climb. There's a few challenges. Matt Wilson, a man that we earmarked at the start of the show here as a potential winner of the stage, of course, second last year up the Remarkables, keeping close note on this climb as a bit of cat and mouse goes on.
And there's a bit of looking over shoulders as to who's coming up here. George Jackson looks like he's just starting to come through here to take over the lead. The Jolly's Hill climb's quite a tough one. It's quite a long over the top type climb, and it does carry on, so you've got to not commit too early. And George Jackson, who has been on the attack this whole race, is starting to come on really good as this tour goes on.
It's certainly unusual seeing the large peloton take on this particular climb here, because often we've seen a group of 5 or 6 riders as the man in the pink now decides to lift the pace here, and he may well have caught them napping a little bit going down the far side of the road. He's come right from the back and is now making his bid for glory here to pick up major points in the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains, and he looks like he's got things under control here. He'll pick up the maximum points, and that there will skyrocket him up in the polka dot jersey.
Yeah, very impressive climb. We were talking about him, as you said, right at the back of the field there. He's very relaxed. Obviously got some gas and some good form in this year's tour.
We can see now we're making our way down towards Garston, out the other side, and very quickly approaching another piece of history, Doug, as we fast approach the Kingston Flyer, which hasn't been on the tour as such for quite a number of years.
A very, very iconic part of Southland, the Kingston Flyer. It's great to have seen it resurrected again. Once again, that looks like Nick Kurgazoo. He is really coming on this year. The Open Country TES team will really be thankful that he has come back into the squad. But the iconic Kingston Flyer is just such a big part of Southland, and that is an absolutely fantastic shot.
That is an awesome shot of it here. Of course, the Kingston Flyer first introduced in 1971. This train, well over 100 odd years old, resurrected and back on the tracks. A 14k ride, and you can see a number of people enjoying it today here as they experience 90 odd bike riders from 4 nations in the International SBS Bank Tour of Southland.
It really does give you a good idea of the entourage following the tour behind. Every one of those vans is a team squad member's van, and there are other support vans in there too, so the tour has a huge support network. As you can see here, the riders are having a bit of a spell, and there's a bit of posturing going on before we start getting towards the lake.
An iconic piece of history here in the Southland Otago region, the Kingston Flyer, as we get back to the peloton at the front, and there's a bit of looking around over the shoulders. Something's going on further on back for these riders here. You can see the leader on the road, Zenovic, a man from Southland. He's heard or seen something going on, but he's decided now to bury the head, keep it on going. But a bit of disarray. On here we go, Doug. That's why it's happening here. It's a crash towards the back of the field.
We've seen a number of crashes in this year's SBS edition, and it is something that no one wants to see. The medical teams and the medical help here is fantastic, and hopefully those riders get back on and get into the race again.
Our 2 leaders that have moved off the front here now are Craig Oliver and Alex Heaney. Oliver, we suggested early on, he looked like he was very keen to get involved here, and they've opened up a gap very early in the piece here as we see riders scrambling back from that crash. It looked like around 15 to 20 riders, and it's good to see that many are now coming back up onto the peloton who have set up, and we often do see this as the bunch decides they're going to wait on riders, allow them to get back in there, catch their breath. Teammates will be looking out for each other and ensuring that their team leaders in particular are kept safe.
Yes, the peloton has certainly become a wee bit more relaxed as they come back. Right in the middle of there, of course, is Josh Burnett and the PowerNet team. He has really looked after himself well in this year's SBS edition, and it is going to be absolutely crucial that he makes every chance as winner going up this last climb.
Fantastic shot here as we enter in towards the Devil Staircase. Those of you that have been to Queenstown before know this is one of the beautiful shots as you enter in from the Invercargill end, as our 2 leaders now opening up a gap of 3 minutes and 46 seconds. With 30 kilometres to go, it is Heaney and it is Craig Oliver. These are 2 very strong riders. Heaney's got a huge amount of experience when it comes to the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. He's been on the podium before. He's been in some of the strongest teams over the years.
2 very strong men out the front of this race. The peloton is obviously not committed to doing too much at this stage. It's pretty relaxed back here. The PowerNet team have got the obligatory sort of you need to chase. You've got the tour leader there sitting back in the orange jersey in about 6th position. So this group that's out the front and this peloton chasing have got to make some inroads into these guys if they want to win the stage. More importantly, now's when we start thinking about GCs, and overall stage wins probably aren't something they're thinking too much about at this point.
It has been relaxed out on the roads here, but now we see the PowerNet team. They know that the kilometres are starting to close down here, and they've put their key men on the front to start to wind things on up.
The flat part, well, it's not exactly flat coming into the base of this climb, is reasonably false flat. Once again, there's the actual tour leader on the front. This is the kind of commitment they've got towards Josh Burnett's aspirations. They know they've got to deliver Josh Burnett at the bottom of the Remarkables in as good a position as they possibly can, having done as little as he possibly can, which he has. So this is a really pivotal move here from Kian Watts, the PowerNet squad and tour leader of this year's race.
I tell you what, he's putting in too much wattage there. Here is the man from the PowerNet team as he's opening up his own little gap. I don't know if he actually realises that he's dropped not only his teammates but the rest of the peloton as well, as he'll no doubt have a bit of a look over his shoulder and wondering why nobody's coming through, but he's committed for his team leader. Yeah, he's had a bit of a nosy. Oh, the head of the shakes. Yeah, I'll go back into the group. He is on a mission. He wants to get his team leader as close as possible to the front of the race when they enter the base. Now, not necessarily to have to be at the very front at the base of the hill, but they want to get it within Kui so that they know that their men can make the move.
A lot of riders still left in the peloton, which I think is tantamount to the conditions. There's not a lot of breeze out there today. There's normally a wee bit round Fairlight. The conditions today for this stage for the riders has just been perfect.
Meanwhile, our two men out in front, they'll just continue in time trial mode as Craig Oliver, a two-time Waka 100 winner. This man has ridden all throughout the world, over in the United States in the criterium racing over there, a lot of mountain biking through Africa, etc. As we see here the bunch starting to approach the base of the climb. They'll be well aware of that the time is slowly but surely starting to come down here, and the real race is about to begin on 6Ks of massive climbing up the Remarkables.
As well as the temperature coming down a wee bit too. There's a wee bit of rain starting to come through in a weather belt. That'll cool the riders down a wee bit, but the speed with which this peloton has approached the bottom of this climb will have really eaten into these two leaders. Craig Oliver, as you said, he's no stranger to climbing mountains, and this man, if there's anyone at the front of the race who knows what he's in for and how to pace himself, it is this guy. And the Central Benchmakers bull bike team, they've got Jimmy Williamson in behind them all. They've got a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. They know what they're doing.
The peloton enters the base of the hill at 2 minutes and 5 seconds down.
2 minutes and 5, it seems like a long time, but these guys, once they start springing off the front and the GC riders really crack into action, it will really come back pretty quick. It'll be interesting to see whether these two riders out the front can stay away from this chasing group.
The time continues to tumble here as the peloton enters the base of the mountain. There is a lot of key riders in here that are very, very good climbers. They'll be starting to make their moves and try and chase down those leaders. Meanwhile, a big chunk of this field here will be just very pleased to make it to home.
This is great coverage of what happens when the speed increases at the front of the group. These riders really go into survival mode and will pace themselves all the way to the top.
Oliver extending his lead now on Heaney as he goes for his bid for glory here on the Remarkable stage, the Queen stage of this year's tour. He's ticking out a very good tempo. He'll know exactly the sort of cadence he's looking for here. He's looking under control after being out in the front for quite some time around towards the Remarkables.
You talk about cadence and numbers. The riders have got the metrics dialed right down to the last watt and how much they can sustain, what they're capable of, what kind of energy they're expending, what their heart rates are, and they've been up and down these climbs in reconnaissance for this. So they really do not know what their limits are. What they haven't done in training is had 3 days racing in advance of this. So this is when the exhaustion starts to compound, and Craig Oliver is still looking pretty good at the front.
So Oliver, he continues to pound on the pedals there, gritting the teeth. He knows here this is a real serious chance to take out the Queen stage of this year's tour. As we scan back, we can see there the man that was with Heaney, and now these other chasers will pick up their numbers. 66 Whitehouse. He was a serious contender for the stage. We wouldn't count him out yet. These riders, of course, Doug, they can go through certain stages within the stage, and particularly on a climb, the good, the bad, and the ugly as they get their way up towards the top.
Exactly, they really do have moments where things get on top of them and they've got to suffer through and survive and try and get on top of their bikes and get on top of the gears they're using. But it's tough when the pace that's being set at the front here is just so hot. You can follow wheels, but you can't hide going up a climb. This is really starting to get on top of some of these riders, and the pace at the front here from a lot of these guys is just starting to take its toll.
riders scrambling across here, but just up around the corner, it looks like two riders starting to disappear into the distance. And that could well be the defending champion Burnett, and it looks like the familiar figure of Wilson. The two men that last year rode their way off the front of the group here to take out the stage. Are they on their way today here to try and challenge against Oliver?
They certainly are, and Matt Wilson here at the front, he will have learnt a lot last year from this climb when Josh took off at the top and put time into him. Often sometimes in sport, a loss you learn more out of. I'm sure Matt Wilson has got memories of last year's climb. Josh Burnett has trained up and down this climb and knows every single last pothole, bump and tar seal chip in this road. So these two guys here are really starting to put in some time, and it looks like they're going to catch the boy Heaney, who was away all that way around the lake. The effort involved in trying to stay away, give yourself a buffer, has just been too much today for Alex.
What did Wilson have for breakfast this morning? Because he is on a mission and is flying up this mountain. The TV cameras don't really give you a true indication how steep it is in some of these points here. Over 10%. And Craig Oliver, he's starting to huff and puff a bit here, and no doubt this is going to be a real challenging last couple of kilometres for this young man to try and take out the title of the Queen stage of the tour.
He had a wee peek, but he can now see over his shoulder these two riders are fast approaching. I've got to say, Matt Wilson is taking the race to Josh Burnett. He's not sitting on Josh waiting for him to come through. If there's ever a question being asked in this year's SBS Bank Tour, it's Matt Wilson asking the question on Josh Burnett: are you good enough to hold my wheel, and are you good enough to be in the leader's jersey? Stay with me, see if you can.
It's a battle royale, and there is one man that could upset the entire party here, and he's only got a few metres on them as they're starting to come down towards the last kilometre. Can he hang on? It's not much of a gap between the three of them, but look at the difference in cadence. Wilson is flying here. He's like he's got an extra gear. He's just going to keep revving it up, and you can see the two-time defending champion here holding on to the wheel, and back further, not too far, are a number of the key climbers as well.
Yeah, they've really given him a climbing masterclass, these two riders. Matt Wilson's still got tons of gas. He's attacking Josh Burnett. It's really going to be do or die here for Josh. You can see him looking to keep that back wheel just in sight. Matt Wilson, chapeau to you. You've really given everything you possibly can to get rid of Josh Burnett, who just about touched the wheel there. Josh is struggling. He's got a poker face on, and Matt Wilson is really trying his best.
Look at the faces, the bodies here as these riders try to continue to get themselves towards the top. They know this is their chance to move right up in the general classification here, but they know the opportunity to win is pretty much over when you can see the speeds at which Wilson is setting up the front there, and it's going to be a two-man race to the finish.
The body build of these guys that climb is quite in contrast to some of the sprint riders we've seen for the first few days. Matt Wilson again having a crack at attacking Josh Burnett. This man here really has tried and has put in a lot of preparation into this year's climb. You can tell you don't come up here and ride up this without having done some serious work in training and racing up climbs. Josh Burnett is the same. I have to say, Josh does not look as comfortable as Matt Wilson going up this climb here, and he is really trying his best to stay on that back wheel.
Advanced Personnel Cycling Team have come out with a plan here today, and I would suggest at this point in time it is working to perfection as they drive things through here to the closing meters. But man, Doug, the speed of which these guys have put through here, considering what they've been through over the last few days, is quite immense. As we now look to a couple of different looking faces here doing the chase, and this is one of our over 35-year-olds in here, one of the Australians, Dybel. He's in the silver jersey, and he is riding himself right up in contention here as well when it comes to general classification.
Yeah, riding into contention is exactly right, Julian. You can see those two riders just mentioned coming around that switchback, but once again it's Matt Wilson at the front. He has spent the whole ride at the front of this race pacing and attacking and trying to do his very, very best to get rid of Josh Burnett, who, to his credit, has stayed there all the way as well. A super ride from these two guys, and Josh Burnett looks like he's starting to wind up for the finish.
A sprint finish on a mountain top here in the remarkable stage, the Queen stage of the SBS Bank Tour of Southland, and it is the defending champion who takes his third victory on this particular climb, as we see Dival also now making his moves as he makes his way up to try and secure third place and move himself right up in the general classification there from number 66, Whitehouse.
A huge shake-up overall on the GC's chart. You can see here Josh, he's pretty happy with himself, not looking too expended there, and there's Daniel Whitehouse coming in to congratulate him on his effort. But it gives you an idea of how quickly these riders stop when they cross the finish line as to how steep this mountain really is.
Riders now starting to roll their way through here. The Dorman Execo riders now, they've been pretty prominent throughout the last few days as well. And here's young Noah Hollenby from Timaru. He's going to move himself up, and potentially, I would suggest, Doug, first under 23 here, moving himself into that pink colour as well. Another change in the orange jersey with our third Southlander to adorn it, with Josh Burnett, the two-time champion, now with a 15-second buffer over Matthew Wilson and Ben Dival of Australia at 39 seconds. James Gardner continues to hold on to the Harcourt sprint ace after Nick Kirkazoo picked up a number of points along the road. Will Heffernan now goes to the top of the leaderboard in the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains by 1 point from Burnett and Gardner. Noah Hollenby makes a big move on the remarkable stage today to move into the Henderson Construction under 23. Australian Ben Dival opens up a big lead now in the Geraldine Cheese silver jersey. Craig Oliver, after being off the front for a significant amount of the stage, deservedly so, gets the Macleay Jewelers most combative. While Macaulay Ford Goodtech take over the Wednesday Cycles team classification by 2 minutes and 14 from Latitude Cycling Team.
Yeah, it's great to get the jersey back, and my third stage win on the Remarkables is pretty special. So yeah, I'm just stoked for obviously for myself, but for my teammates as well. It's a pretty sweet way to pay them back, and yeah, go back to back stages for PowerNet. And yeah, it's just making a new plan from here.
To the coveted orange jersey, folks. Would you put your hands together for Josh Burnett of PowerNet?
Follow the action from this historic race with live race updates, full results and pictures at tourofsouthland.com.